Our motor learning task was French braiding. What is motor learning? It's a set of internal processes associated with practicing a novel task which leads to relatively permanent changes of accuracy and smoothness when carrying out the motor skill. How do we know motor learning has occurred? There are two ways: long-term retention of ability and ability to transfer new skills to new contexts. Feedback. Constant feedback is best for initial skill acquisition, and intermittent feedback is best for retention. There are 4 kinds of task intrinsic feedback: visual, auditory, proprioceptive, and tactile. We used all 4 in our motor learning task. Augmented feedback is knowledge of results and performance. It enhances motor learning. French braiding is difficult to control augmented feedback. Michelle was constantly and instantly aware of the results of her attempts. All videos have been sped up to 4 times normal speed for the purpose of saving the viewer's time. However, because they are all increased 4 times, the viewers can still compare task speed between the teacher and the student. On day 1, Elizabeth demonstrated how to French braid someone's hair. She verbally explained what she was doing while Michelle watched and listened. She demonstrated at a slower speed to aid Michelle's learning process. Michelle's initial attempt at learning to French braid follows. As you can see, Michelle had to start and stop again several times. On day 1, Elizabeth gave auditory and visual feedback, and Michelle could see her mistakes as she progressed with the French braiding. She could also feel the mistakes she made, tactily, and Elizabeth had to give Michelle an extra hand occasionally. This is Michelle's final product from day 1. On day 7, Michelle attempted to French braid Jill's hair again. This time did not take quite so long. On day 7, Elizabeth gave auditory feedback. Michelle could see her mistakes visually. Proprioceptively, she could feel when her hands were tangled, and tactily there were no cues. This is Michelle's attempt from day 7. Pretty good. Modifications made during acquisition. Michelle was progressing so quickly with French braiding, we decided to make it more difficult by having her learn how to French braid her own hair. On day 14, Michelle French braided Jill's hair without feedback from Elizabeth. This is Michelle's final product from day 14 on Jill's hair. And then Elizabeth demonstrated on herself how to French braid her own hair, and she narrated the process for Michelle as she went. And then Michelle attempted to French braid her own hair. This is Michelle's first attempt at French braiding her own hair. On day 14, Michelle had proprioceptive feedback. She had auditory feedback, but she had no visual feedback. Elizabeth gave Michelle a helping hand when needed, helping her untangle her long hair. On day 21, Michelle French braided Jill's hair and her own hair without any kind of feedback. This is Michelle's final attempt at French braiding someone else's hair. Then Michelle attempted to French braid her own hair for the second time, on camera. You can see that she's much better at it this time. This is Michelle's final attempt at braiding her own hair on camera. Michelle only physically practiced French braiding Jill's hair once a week at our group's meetings. She physically practiced French braiding on her own twice, and she mentally practiced at least one time per day, as it is shown to improve motor learning when combined with physical practice. Practice levels were always the same at Elizabeth's house at around the same time in the afternoon, and there was not much sound or activity to distract Michelle from her motor learning task. Both task intrinsic and augmented feedback are key in learning and retaining new motor skills. Timing of feedback is also key. Lots of feedback at the beginning and tapering off feedback to improve retention. Conclusion. Michelle acquired a new task, French braiding. Not only someone else's hair, but she learned how to French braid her own hair as well. Here are our references. And here is our statement of permission. Thank you very much. We hope you enjoyed our video. The end.